All right, so Biden and Netanyahu are having a little bit of a back and forth, but it's beyond stupid. It's beyond dumb. Biden is raising eyebrows with a plan to invite Netanyahu to a come to Jesus meeting. Now, Netanyahu, it's being made clear, still has all these domestic issues, and now he is ongoing with this horrific, barbaric assault on Gaza. It's quite clear that he is not going to stop any military actions whatsoever, and Netanyahu doesn't care to listen to the president of the United States, even though the United States is a global superpower and is what makes Israel relevant. So there you go. So U.S. President Joe Biden was overheard this week stating that he told Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu that the pair would have a come to Jesus meeting. Biden insisted that Netanyahu knew what I meant by the phrase. Speaking to Colorado Senator Michael Bennet after his State of the Union address on Thursday, Biden could be heard on a microphone recounting a recent conversation he'd had with Netanyahu about Israel's war in Gaza. I told him, BB, and don't repeat this, but you and I are going to have a come to Jesus meeting. Biden told Bennett using the Israeli leader's nickname. An aide then rushed over to stop Biden from speaking before Biden replied, I'm on a hot mic here. Good. That's good.
Don't worry, Mr. This is one of the big ones. Great speech.
Now, you might not be able to hear this, but I will be raising up the volume for the clipped video. But this is the hot mic moment.
I was telling your secretary, I was in Jordan and Israel this weekend. And just, you got to keep.
Now, that's an individual who's just saying, that's one of the senators saying, like, hey, saying how much of a great speech Biden did, even though he was probably hyped up on something.
Humanitarian stuff and all this stuff. So I told him, maybe some people, maybe even I can come to you.
And it says hot mic, good. So what I read there, that's the video for it. But however, Colonel Netanyahu didn't like that. Turns out Netanyahu hits back at Biden. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has claimed that his maximalist war aims are supported by the overwhelming majority of the country's citizens, and that U.S. President Joe Biden was wrong to suggest that West Jerusalem's plan for Gaza is hurting Israel. With the death toll from Israel Defense Forces, Gaza's operation passing 31,000, that number's a lot higher. Don't worry, folks. It's a lot higher. Biden told MSNBC on Saturday that Netanyahu should pay more attention to the innocent lives being lost. Netanyahu doesn't give a damn, Biden, and neither do you, Biden. In the Palestinian enclave. Biden went on to say that Netanyahu is hurting Israel more than he's helping, and that a planned Israeli invasion of Rafah, a city south of the Strip, where more than 1 million Gazans have sought refuge, would be a red line for Washington. I'm willing to bet that's not going to happen. Washington, D.C. doesn't care. I don't know what exactly the president meant, Netanyahu told German tabloid Bild on Sunday, but if he meant that I'm pursuing private policies against the wish of the majority of Israelis and that this is hurting the interests of Israel, then he is wrong on both counts. They are policies supported by the overwhelming majority of Israelis. Jesus Christ. So that means there's a lot of Israelis that are in support of the genocide. Okay, wow. That's kind of terrible. It's kind of horrific. It's really barbaric. Israelis support the action that we are taking to destroy the remaining terrorist battalions of Hamas. They say that once we destroy Hamas, the last thing we should do is put in charge of Gaza the Palestinian Authority. So you know what that means? Full-on annexation. Say it with me, folks. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? But here, hold on. Joe Biden, I'm never going to leave Israel. The defense of Israel is still critical, so there's no red line. So it turns out that red line that Biden was talking about, non-existent.
What is your red line with Prime Minister Netanyahu? Do you have a red line? For instance, would invasion of Rafah, which you have urged him not to do, would that be a red line?
It is a red line, but I'm never going to leave Israel. The defense of Israel is still critical. So there's no red line. I'm going to cut off all weapons so they don't have the Iron Dome to protect them. They don't have.
Like, this is the world's most one-sided fist fight at this point. I mean, pretty much Gaza's been turned into a moonscape. There's no way any Palestinian refugee can escape out of Gaza. All the borders are locked down. Refugee centers are being bombed. Hospitals, if there's any left, are being bombed. There's nowhere safe to go. 1.4 million people are in the city of Rafah right now, but even that area is at risk, is going to be at risk for IDF military actions that are going to be taking place there. And we have to be very clear here. There is an ongoing starvation crisis happening in Gaza. Famine. People don't have enough food, water, medicine. People are dying. And yet, Joe Biden is saying that Netanyahu is going to have a come to Jesus moment. Whew, I know there's a lot of religious people out there. I get it, right? And there's many people who hope for one day for the good old JC to come back. After observing how crazy it is on this planet, I think it's understandable why he hasn't come back yet. Okay, there's just madness and insanity, and this could stop at any point. The president of the United States does have the power and influence to stop this, but he chooses not to. Why? Because AIPAC bought our politicians.
But there's red lines that if he crosses, he cannot have 30,000 more Palestinians dead as a consequence of going after. There's other ways to deal with the trauma caused by Hamas. It's like look, the first time I went over, I sat with them and I sat with the war cabinet. I said, look, don't make the mistake America made. America made a mistake. We went after bin Laden until we got him, but we shouldn't have gone into Ukraine.
Did you have a little bit of a Freudian slip there, Biden? Wait, hold on. You're talking about America making a mistake with the war on terror, which I find fascinating. All right, because originally we were supposed to go after a guy named Osama bin Laden, and turns out he was never in Afghanistan. He was in a place called Pakistan. So many years, so many lives lost in Afghanistan, and then somehow that Where's Waldo's search for Osama bin Laden eventually got focused on a war in Iraq. And so much treasury and lives were lost in that war. And since then, the U.S. has been in forever wars. But notice that little gem of a slip up. We should not have gone into Ukraine. What?
Mistake America made. America made a mistake. We went after bin Laden until we got him, but we shouldn't have gone into Ukraine.
Gotta bring up my Bobby Balaka quote. Hey, Pasta, this one's for you, man, because I know he's a Sopranos fan as well. Quasimodo, he predicted all of this. Ukraine, Iraq, two different things altogether. Well, actually, hold on. Let me take that back. Actually, they are similar because the reason why we're there, to boost up the military-industrial complex. I kid you not. One more time.
America made a mistake. We went after bin Laden until we got him, but we shouldn't have gone into Ukraine. We shouldn't have gone into the whole thing in Iraq and Afghanistan. It wasn't necessary. It just caused more problems than it raised, than it's clearly cured.
That was such a stuttering, stammering response to that question. Yet there's Vote Blue no matter who sycophants that are saying, oh man, Biden really killed it for the State of the Union. Look me in the eye and tell me that he wasn't hopped up on something.
Who actually wants a deal? Do you think Hamas actually wants a ceasefire?
Well, I think Hamas would like a total ceasefire across the board because they would see they have a better chance to survive and maybe rebuild. But that's not what I think. The vast majority of people think. You have to look. After what happened in World War II and the carpet bombing that took place.
He reminds me of Abe Simpson. Remember that classic episode of Simpson where Mr. Burns hired Abe Simpson, Grandpa Simpson, and his friends to be security guards. Grandpa Simpson was regaling him with a story from the 1940s. We wore some onions on our belt, which was the style at the time.
Place what happened was we ended up in a situation where we changed the rules of the game, our constitutional legitimate rules of war. And they should be abided by.
Some have suggested you should go back to Israel and address the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. Is that something you would do?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Old man visit Israel. He'll probably be distracted. Listen, here's all what the Israeli government has to do. Just take Biden to an ice cream shop, and then that's it. They're not going to have him speak to parliament. That's not going to happen. They're going to show Biden some of the nice places in Israel, and that's it. That's all what they're going to do. I'm willing to bet that. 10 out of 10.
Would that have to be at the invitation of the prime minister, or could that be at the invitation of the president?
Oh, he looks so confused. This man has no business being president.
I'd rather not discuss it more.
Smart answer, Biden, right? Hey, don't want to discuss it anymore because you really don't have an answer because AIPAC owns our politicians.
Does that mean that has been discussed, the possibility of going back to Israel and addressing the Knesset? Okay.
Oh, this is a clown show. We're ruled over by a senile old man. But wait, folks, it gets better. I'm so sorry. You have to see this too.
You're heading to Michigan, where on the campaign trail, probably in the next few days, where more than 100,000 people voted uncommitted in the primary to protest your handling of the situation in Gaza. Some have said they will never vote for you. One told Charles Blow of the New York Times, and I'm quoting, "As bad as Mr. Trump's rhetoric was and him putting a travel ban on 5 Muslim countries, he wasn't overseeing and actively arming a genocide." Those are tough words.
You know, it's hard to argue with those words. Look, I have my criticisms of Donald Trump. I am not a fan of either party. But when it comes down to it, the utter hypocrisy of Democrats and vote blue no matter who is enraging. Because throughout all of 2020, we heard from these liberals, we heard from these progressives who are telling us that we have to vote for Biden because then he would listen to Bernie Sanders and AOC, that if we don't vote for Biden, Trump is going to start World War III. We're going to be stuck in many different wars. Our economy is going to fall apart. Women are going to lose the right to choose. There's still going to be a border crisis. The kids will be in cages. Our infrastructure will be falling apart. Climate change will be impacting us. Many people will be struggling to pay for their homes or either that, rent out an apartment. Small businesses will be struggling and corruption will be running amok. And all that's happening under Biden. All that's happening under Biden. Like, look, it's easy to turn Donald Trump into a Saturday morning cartoon villain. I get it because there's so many people who are triggered by Donald Trump. But I will keep on repeating this. All these people that let Donald Trump live rent-free in their head, they're just like him. Secretly, I bet they wish they all could be like Donald Trump. Because all these quote-unquote progressive or liberal heavyweight champions that want to stop Trump because they fear that he's going to bring in fascism into the USA. Where are your protests against Biden? Where have they been? Now, I'm glad that there's this anti-war movement that's happening now, but where was everybody the past 3 years? I know that since from 2016 to 2020, when Trump was in the White House, all those activists and SJW groups in Chicago meet up somewhere in downtown Chicago, either by City Hall or some other area in the Loop, form up and then do that whole fest protest. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but I just feel like being mean. But that little old protests and march all the way to Trump Tower that's across the river, protest there, block traffic, and then that's it. By the way, they'd be herded into a little cage area to where they could protest. Where are you, you little pink pussy hats? Didn't Roe v. Wade die under Biden? And now the Democrats are sending me emails and text messages about why I should give them $15.
What's your response to that widely shared sentiment?
It's not widely shared. You guys make judgments you're not capable of making.
Corporate media. That's your dog, right?
That's not what all those people said. What they said was they're very upset, and I don't blame them for being upset. There's families there. There are people who are dying. They want something done about it. And they're saying, Joe, do something.
and he can't do anything. Hey, Joe, can you do something, Joe?
What they said was they're very upset, and I don't blame them for being upset. There's families there. There are people who are dying. They want something done about it. And they're saying, Joe, do something. Do something. But the idea that they all think is genocide is just not, that's a different situation.
It's don't worry, just because women and children are dying, men, women, and children are dying, homes are being destroyed, people are being rounded up and being bombed at, food convoys are being shot at, that's not a genocide, right? What does a genocide look like then, Joe?
Look, I can fully understand, can't you? You have a family member there, families come from a family that is still isolated there and may be victimized. It's understandable they feel that way. And that's why I'm doing everything I can to try to stop it.
Are ya? Let's have democracy in the chat. Type 1 for Kit. Joe Biden is the president of these United States, and his leadership is what's going to save the day. He is saving the people's lives by doing this action right now. He is going to do something to save the day. You awful, awful man. I trust in Joe Biden. He will do something about it. Type 2, man, he ain't going to do jack. He's just going to do thoughts and prayers, and that's it. So I know you guys had to sit through not one, but a couple of videos of the neoliberal propaganda, of Joe Biden. But here, let's talk about the real truth. Norman Finkelstein, Biden has turned the Gaza genocide into a photo op for himself. Oh, hold on. Let me just re-upload this video. I am so sorry for that.
President Biden has turned the Gaza genocide into a photo op for himself. Ursula von der Leyen, who's one of the key supporters of the genocide, is now trying to clear her name. She's a bona fide war criminal. It's not for no reason that Claire Daly in the European Parliament calls her Frau Genocide, or as I prefer to call her, the Nazi princess. Now let's get down to the facts. There's no problem with getting food and medicine to the periphery of Gaza. There are hundreds of trucks which are ready to go in. It doesn't change anything one whit if there is a floating pier on the water periphery of Gaza. That's not the problem. The problem is getting the food and the medicine from the periphery to the people. And Israel is blocking that. It's blocking it both physically and also by its continued indiscriminate bombing to terrorize the civilian population. There's something truly sickening when the President of the United States turns the martyrdom of the people of Gaza into an election year photo op. He's trying to recreate the Berlin airlift of 1948, this time by building a floating pier. I don't know why he just doesn't call on Captain Kirk from the Starship Enterprise to beam down Morton pot pies. This is so preposterous, so ridiculous. The idea that any sane person, any rational person can take seriously at this point in time the words of the two key supporters of the Gaza genocide outside Israel, namely Ursula von der Leyen, Frau Genocide, the Nazi princess, and President Biden. It's simply bewildering. But frankly, I don't believe it fools anybody except for those ghouls inside the Democratic Party bubble.
And Norman, President Biden and Ursula von der Leyen would no doubt refute those claims were they here to do so.
Yeah, see, don't you love it when there's that media dog who just says, oh, but they would refute those claims. They would refute those claims. Netanyahu is not listening to President Joe Biden. Netanyahu is going to go all in for his military actions in Gaza. All right, and it's going to cost more Palestinian lives. Now, there is aid going into Gaza. However, any attempt to give food or relief to the people, automatically the people are fired upon. Now, of course, the many people would say, well, look, the people of Gaza, they're just swarming those vehicles. Well, recent footage is showing that no matter what they do, be they obedient, be they walking or running, they're always going to get shot at. They're always going to get shot at. And the airlift aids, we have seen many of the imagery of the food supplies that are being delivered, expired MREs and other goods. But also many of the parachutes are failing and those crates are falling down on people. Or either that, the crates are just going into the ocean. And there's talks about building a floating pier. And oh, yes, we will talk about that floating pier and where it's going to be located at, which is quite interesting. But our politicians, why aren't they acting? Why aren't they speaking out? We know it all too well. And we have showed so many videos and tweets and articles about how corrupt our politicians are, about how much money they make through insider trading. Well, they also get money from lobby groups. AIPAC is the lobby group. And Biden, being a United States senator who once said, I'd gladly prostitute myself to corporations, and he would, and he did. Are you telling me he never took AIPAC money? Of course he did.
What they need.
They might deny the claims, but the factual evidence denies them the option of refuting the claims. There can be no question whatsoever that the two key supporters of the Gaza genocide outside the state of Israel are Ursula von der Leyen and Joe Biden. That is not up for debate. That is not controversial. That is an irrefutable fact.
And clearly what the people of Gaza need right now, Norman, is humanitarian aid in huge amounts. And therefore, what is needed is a diplomatic solution to try and establish further abilities to get that aid into Gaza.
Yeah, that's also, again, he has to shout over his guest, be like, well, it's got to get in there, right?
Hold any positive hopes of a diplomatic solution?
No, I do not. Because Israel is determined, it's determined either to ethnically cleanse Gaza, turn Gaza into a wasteland, or to dispose of physically every living person, every sentient being in Gaza. And the United States will not exert the force to stop it. So I cannot say optimistic about a diplomatic settlement.
Because there won't be one. Remember, just a few weeks ago, probably not a few weeks ago, but months ago, I covered an article from RT in which Netanyahu says he doesn't see the war ending until 2025. We're in March right now of 2024. Goodness, my God, how many people are going to die until Netanyahu is satisfied? This is wag the dog moment. And he doesn't want a diplomatic solution. He wants the full-on control of Gaza, the annexation of that territory. And you know what that means? More people in Gaza are going to die.
But we should be clear on the facts. Number one, there is no lack of food or medicine earmarked for the people of Gaza. It's there. It doesn't require a floating bathtub. It's right there at the gates of Gaza. It's Israel that's blocking the delivery of the foodstuffs and the medicine. Number two, the chief supporters of the Gaza genocide are now trying to clear their names by pretending to be concerned about the fate of the people of Gaza.
I also want to pull up this video here. Just shout out to Neoliberal Tears, where protesters once again interrupt Joe Biden. And it's very interesting to see just how quickly the Vote Blue No Matter Who crowd silences them.
Thank you. Wait.
Thank you. Look, I don't resent his passion. There's a lot of Palestinians who are being unfairly victimized.
Unfairly victimized. The president of these United States. They're being victimized. Oh, my daughter got shot by a sniper. I've been victimized. Oh, my cousin got ran over by a tank. Victimized. My house got blown up. Victimized. 3 of my family members died of starvation. Victimized. Victimized. This is a genocide, Joe Biden. Done by the hands of the IDF and Netanyahu's government. People are being exterminated. They have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go. At this point, where can they go? They have nowhere to run to. Nowhere to hide. Any attempt of aid or relief is being denied. If it does get in, they still get shot at. And yet, this is the person that the Vote Blue, no matter who sycophants are saying, we got to vote for. That he's better on the issues than Trump. The way I see it, no matter how this election turns out, Israel's going to get what it wants.